All right, all right, all right. I'm pretending this is my mallet. Order in the court today. Welcome back, everybody, to In Liberty and Health, episode number 276. Thank you so much, JC and Forrest Wami, for dropping by nice and early. I don't know if they're still with us. Hopefully they are. Today, we're going to be talking probably about a little bit of red pill stuff, probably some car stuff, too, because we're already kind of firing off on that in the, pre-show, all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't want to keep you guys here too long. Make sure you hit all the links below to figure out what I got going on. A Common Crown just released our new single, Cry, which is a total ripper. There is a playthrough on this channel that I did the day that it came out. But yeah, anyways, Tiger Fitness for the world's best supplements, LMNT for the world's best electrolytes, and make sure you go to foxsonscoffee.com and use code Kyle at checkout to get a little bit of a discount for the best coffee you're ever gonna freaking drink. Yeah, we're looking forward to this chat. She did cognitive vigilance once, and she also had done this show almost 100 episodes ago. I want to say it was maybe 80 to 100. I was just looking earlier. But anyways, let's rock and roll. What is up, everybody? My name is Kyle Matovic. I am the host of the In Liberty and Health podcast, where we talk all things liberty, health, and wellness, and beyond. My hope is to encourage and spread the message of liberty and physical and mental well-being. I hope you enjoy all the topics we talk about with our guests. We're on all major streaming platforms, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Man, I'm doing as good as anyone can do getting buried by his 13-year-old son on leg day.
I'm not going to apologize for not being on this podcast because I got to go see Metallica. So if that's a problem, kiss my ass.
Okay?
All right.
Hi, Meredith.
I like your intro.
I thought it was pretty good. I think I need a new one. I think I need to shorten it up. Everybody says, "Oh, a minute's too long for an intro," but I don't know. I like all the people that are in there, and yeah.
I like it. I was gonna say I'm so glad to see that you use a mixed grip on your deadlift, because I do too, and I always get clowned for it.
You know what? They say that like you're more likely to tear your bicep doing like the underhand part. For the longest time there, I was doing a trap bar deadlift because I fucked up my back, and that's just so much easier on your back because you get more of an upright chest, and then obviously the weights like kind of more at your sides. It's a lot easier.
It's way less posterior chain in that one.
Well, it's just sort of, but I mean, also you're getting a little bit more legs, but I mean, you get a lot more posterior chain when you do like a traditional deadlift, because obviously you have to kind of bend over a little bit more. So like my wife is getting back into the swing of things, and if people would have saw me like literally 5 seconds before we went on live, I blew my wife a kiss because she just came through the door. So she's been doing the trap bar deadlift, and I could be happier for her and more proud of her because she keeps sending me videos of her deadlifting like 245 pounds. I'm like, you fucking go, girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember I had carpal tunnel like really bad back in the late 2019, early 2020. And it was just killing me because deadlift is my favorite lift of all time. Yeah. And my trainer comes in one day and he gives me wrist wraps, and I was like, oh, like I'm like really big on not being assisted with lifting. Like I don't use a belt or anything, but I did use them. I was so fucked up about it because you can't do any sort of mix with the wrist wraps, and it was like really fucking me up.
Okay, so I lift with a belt now. I didn't for the longest time because I kept saying, oh, just use your core, contract your core like a motherfucker, and you'll be all right. After that back injury and how bad it hurt, and for how many times I kind of like went back and injured it again, I'm like, okay, I'm using a belt. Like, there's no way I'm not using a belt. So anytime the weight, if I'm squatting or deadlifting, goes over 300 pounds, belt, no matter what.
Yeah, no disrespect. No disrespect. It's different for everybody. I felt that when I had a belt on, I would my trainer had a term for it, but it was like instead of bracing by like holding in, I would almost like push out in my core area. And I felt like it was giving me like a thicker waist, and I was like, nah. So I try to just stay unassisted for everything now.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a line of hefty pole locks like I do, I already don't have a thin waist. Like even if I lost, pretty much all the body fat that I have now.
Well, you're not supposed to. You're a man.
Well, yeah. Well, guys want,
V.
Yeah, they want the V, and not only that, there are objective, traction markers, which are, good shoulder to waist ratio. So, you want your shoulders to be a lot wider than your waist. So if you have a slimmer waist, then obviously, the objective attraction marker is that you look better because your shoulders are wider than your waist. But
how much? Like, what's is there?
the
'Cause you know, like
ratio?
the hip waist. I think it's 7 to 10.
I want to say it's 1.5 to 1. So you want your shoulders to be about 50% wider than your waist. I might be wrong on those numbers, but it's been a while since I
Because
like looked at that.
so again, like my trainer's a bodybuilder, so when he does the pose where you're in the front and you push your lats out.
Oh, the lat spread, yeah.
Yeah, does the lat like help with making the waist look smaller?
Well, yeah, so it's obviously your shoulders are going to be kind of like the main driver of what drives your shoulder to waist ratio, but they're like if you have a wider back, then it's going to help kind of contribute to the look of the taper, which is once again generally what they want to see. So like my understanding of bodybuilding, and I should probably learn this stuff a lot more. I've thought about competing so much, but like my understanding is that when you get lean, it fucking sucks. And I mean, I've been to the point where I had like visual abs, and I'm like, yeah, this sucks. Like you can't eat anywhere nearly as much, and you don't have that much body fat, so you're very, very, starved for nutrition. So like,
it's not even just. I mean, like when you're talking about visible abs, like that's a normal walking around. When they're on the stage, that level of leanness is nothing you've ever experienced before. And it's actually really interesting. I think I might have told you this. I used to like fuck with my trainer a little bit and like be like, if I was tired, I'd be like, I'd be like, oh, Rob, hey, so what are you doing with your water and your salt intake when you're like, blah, 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 in between weigh in and on stage? And he would just go off explaining it. And I'd just be standing there like this. And like all of a sudden 5 minutes has gone by. He's like, you motherfucker. I was supposed to make you keep going. But that stuff is very interesting. But I mean, the amount of, I mean, it's not, because it's not just the nutrition, it's the water.
Right.
And that's where you really get,
Well, yeah, so I mean, like some of those guys take diuretics, which I think is pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
Now, like when I listen to Lane Norton talk about it, and he says he's coached a bunch of people through bodybuilding shows, and like a lot of them actually won their contest preps. He said that you actually don't want to cut salt because he said that like a lot of his competitors, what would happen is that like the week after they would look way better than they did on stage, but because they were so like flat dehydrated when they tried to go on stage, because they cut all water, they cut all salt. So like what you want to fill in, and then like another thing that I think a lot of people might get messed up by, even people in the chat who might be listening when they're talking about health and fitness, you never want to take out creatine, right? Because creatine holds water intracellularly.
Right.
Now, if you take like 10 grams of creatine and pound it back day after day, then what can happen is that water will actually gather in your gut, give you discomfort. But if you're taking, your standard like 5-gram dose per day, you're going to be fine. Like you're not going to hold any water. It's going to be intracellular. So it's water within the muscle. Man,
I took creatine when I was really into powerlifting. I swear it put 20 pounds on me in like a week. But it was amazing. Like the recovery, the soreness, everything was so much better. And then I had to get weighed for something. And I was like, they said my weight out loud. And I was like, what? That can't be. So I stopped. But it works. But if you're a woman,
I mean, it also depends. My understanding is like on your cycle as well. So like if you're, depending on when your period is, you can actually gain a little bit of weight. So like the app that I use, Carbon Diet Coach, they actually will, for women, actually say in there, like, is it your period? And because they do like weekly check-ins to measure like how your body's taken the calorie deficit or like a bulk or anything like that. And then they'll ask if you're on your period. And if you're on your period, then I believe they may like hold off another week or something like that to adjust your calories up or down. Sorry, I want to catch some of these chats. At my best, I could deadlift nearly 400. I don't consider that terribly impressive, but I've been inconsistent about lifting regularly over the past few years. I think for guys, no, yeah, that's excellent. For guys, a good benchmark is like a 400-pound deadlift. Once you start going over that, then it's going to take a lot of time. So I think like most lifters in their first year, for guys at least, I shouldn't even say first year, but maybe like the first 5 years where you're going to see serious gains. And then after that, it's going to start to taper off. 400-pound deadlift, probably like a 285 bench, and then probably a 300-pound squat. And then once you get around those numbers and then getting over those, it's going to take a lot of work, and the gains are going to start to be, it's going to be very diminished returns from there. For women, I don't fucking know.
It's just so funny. Yeah, because like to get to 135 on bench is like, it's such, and it's so weird because once you get over the 135 hump, it becomes like your jumps become slightly easier, but like that difference between like 105 and 135, like those increments seem like a lot for some reason. And then our squats are usually, we go up in squats a lot easier. I'm one of the few whose deadlift is like way stronger than her squat, because a lot of women like to focus on squats.
Right.
I really hate squats. I started out loving them, but I really hate them now. I don't know why. I'm better in general with pulling, any sort of pull movement, pushing movements.
Sure.
But I think it's because like I grew up riding horses and developed a lot of strength in my upper back from that motion and things. And I also think the deadlifts is better for your ass personally.
Well, yes. I mean, you're going to be getting a lot more glutes because obviously when you pull your hips forward, you're going to be using your
especially with the lockout,
glutes.
like that is where you really get the ass. But I think actually probably the best thing for your ass is hip bridges.
So there's those, but what I recently started doing
RDLs.
because no, actually RDLs, I never feel this in my glutes. I feel RDLs mainly in my hamstrings. Like my hamstrings burn like a motherfucker. I do RDLs.
You're gonna do either one-legged or B stance for RDL.
Romanian or Bulgarian split squats leaning forward are what get my glutes. Yeah. I mean, I do not like Bulgarian split squats at all, but now I incorporate those to target my glutes. I used to do hip thrusts, right? But it is kind of a pain in the ass to set up a bench. You go to the Smith machine, you have to have the cover, you put on a bunch of weight, and then even when you're in the most stretched position, which is actually the most the most difficult part, which could be the most stimulative. That's what I was looking for. When you're in the most stimulative part where your glutes should be stretched, you don't really get a stretch because, obviously you have your hips and your knees and everything else.
And you're in that deficit.
Right. Well, when you're doing a Bulgarian split squat, I feel the stretch a lot more in my glutes when I do that, especially when I lean forward and then, kind of drive my hips down. So that's kind of what I've opted for those a little bit more. I mean, I was doing like 350 pounds with, for like 12 to 15 reps with hip thrusts, but.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say for Bulgarian split squat.
No, God. No, I got a regular my regular squat record is a 400-pound squat, and I've done 355 or 365 for 8, I think. I might be mistaken. It might be 305 or 315 for 8, but yeah.
That's really good.
I mean, I started training my legs seriously back in like 2020 because I used to never do. Oh my God, no, my calves are huge. I'm good. And it's funny. My mom was in the chat earlier. If you look at her calves, she's a 5'4" Dago woman, and her cat, our people
we carry that weight down in the legs.
Yeah, well, like she's thin as hell right now, but literally, if she like showed you her calves, they look just like mine. They're incredibly defined and big. So
that's crazy because calves are some of the hardest things for men to put mass on for some reason.
Well, it's genetics. It really is your genetics, and that was kind of like the learning lesson for me. So like, I got my mom's ass and her calves, but like the rest of it, my chest sucks. Everything else I had to work very, very hard to bring up, but like the calves and the ass, like no fucking problem. Like we're good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of genetics.
Chest for a lot of men, but definitely calves. Like you always see the guys. Like I think the first time I ever saw a guy like implant, like a silicone implant, was a calf implant, and I was like, why would you do that? Because you like breast implants, you can't grow these and beyond a certain, like maybe a little bit from getting fat, but you can't even guarantee that that's going to go there. But like, so I understand breast implants, even though I think it's a bad idea for health reasons, but whatever. Calf implants, like, come on.
Okay, well, you know what? That's interesting. I actually kind of want to know about this because I've heard people talk about breast implants being potentially unhealthy. Are they like, what is the issue with them? Because I've never heard, like I said, good.
It's one of those things that I don't think there's consensus on in the medical scientific community. The first time I actually even really saw, I love the Real Housewives. It's like one of my toxic feminine traits. And there was this woman named Yolanda. She's the mom of Gigi and Bella Hadid, the models, who, if anyone is curious of who I'm talking about. And she said, like, she had chronic Lyme disease, which is another thing that's kind of bogus. I hope I don't offend anybody with that. No consensus on whether that exists. Like, 2 years into her treatment, she goes, I'm going to get my breast implants removed. I've had them for 25 years. They burst. Yeah, I think I should probably get them removed to see if that works. And she had free floating silicone in her chest cavity, up in her clavicle. And I think she started getting better after that, but she still insisted it was chronic Lyme, whatever. Shortly after that, Hugh Hefner's wife, Crystal, I think was her name. She said she got hers removed, and she said she had breast implant illness. And it's been studied a little bit more throughout the years, and it's basically you have like autoimmune type symptoms, or symptoms that are basically unexplained by anything else. And silicone breast implants are the ones that feel the most real, give the best look, but there's the hazard of having silicone in your body, whereas a saline implant doesn't feel real, doesn't look very good, but if it bursts, it's just salt water in your body.
Okay, so basically you kind of almost have to pick your poison.
Right. And then the other thing about, to get a breast implant to look really good, it's better to go under the muscle. But for people who like to work out, for women who like to work out, it's really kind of hard to have it under the muscle. It really limits what you can do, chest workouts for a while. And then when you do, you're always going to have that pressure there. And, but again, like if you're a woman, most women in fitness who get breast implants are the competitors, because they get so lean that their boobs go away. It's like you can't avoid it. And you can see the ones who go above the muscle, so that can get better chest development. You can actually see the implant when they're dieted down like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably gonna look a little fucked up, because when you're so lean, you can see the chest striations, and like women who are super lean, I'm sorry, like I can admire the fit physique.
Yeah.
I just think that like diced women don't look good. So like the first time I ever saw one in person was actually the woman who owns the gym that I go to, Justine Albertson. And I remember, I'm guessing she was probably close to a competition, because I mean she was diced. And like my wife and I took a tour of the gym, and I remember looking at her, I'm like, whoa, she's huge. And I remember hearing people talk about it, say like when you would see a bodybuilder in person, it is that much more impressive. And when I saw her, I'm like, oh, that's what people mean.
Yeah, especially for women. I mean, because there's different levels, as there are in the male categories as well. So the bikini girls are the ones you're going to see who aren't necessarily putting on a ton of muscle. They're more about having, like, I would say that they get down to probably like maybe 15% body fat.
Well, that's pretty lean for women. Yeah.
Yes, it's for a woman, yes, but it gives like a nice healthy look. Smaller muscles but defined. I think it's then figure, which is, I think Erin Stern, if you know who she is, would be figure, as well as DLB, Dana Limbailey. Larger muscles, and that's where the breast implants start to look really weird. And then you get bodybuilding, which I don't even know if there's many actual pure female bodybuilders anymore. I haven't looked into it in a long time. But yeah, the figure girls are going to be the ones getting down to like 12, 13, even maybe 10 if they're, yeah. Erin Stern looks really, really good. I will say DLB, Dana Limbailey, she actually looks kind of jacked. And I think they compete in the same thing, if I remember correctly. But yeah, for a woman to get lean enough where those bits in the legs are striated and everything, that's crazy. And the separation, because that's where women carry their fat. So yeah, to get that level of lean, especially down there, takes a lot of work. You'll see the bikini girls don't have that level of separation in the quads. Damn, why are there so many dudes? That looks like her. She's got some veins showing. She must be pretty lean. Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess I'm not having any luck. I just wasn't finding her. There were a whole bunch of dudes. You know, that one picture I put up was her. My dog got sick in the background.
Even to have that vein on the arm, that's pretty lean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like what, guys or people always joke about, that like guys are lean when they start to get the vein in the biceps. So like right now, you could see it sometimes on me, but right now, I just finished my dirty bulk like a month
You gotta
or two
get a pump.
ago. So yeah. No. If I get the pump, then I get the fucking shoulder veins and everything. I saw it today.
I will say, I don't think I ever experienced a pump until I started taking C4 before workouts. When I first got a pump, I was like, oh my God, I get it. This feels awesome.
Yeah. I remember back when I first started working out, I used to take 2 pre-workouts, and I'd be leaving work at like 5, and I would pound both of them on the way to the
take
gym.
them at night?
I didn't know any better. I'm like, fuck, I want to be huge. Let's go. So I used to I would take them both on the way to the gym and just fucking go crazy. And I remember getting like so pumped up I couldn't like move my arm. Like when I went like that, it felt like my arm was gonna explode.
So the first time I remember doing it was because I was trying. So my deadlift was very strong. My grip was weak because I have female hands and I have a big palm but short fingers. So I was like really trying to get my grip to be better. I was doing wrist curls. And I remember getting a pumped up forearm and being like, what the fuck? This is crazy. And like you can't move it. It felt weird. But I liked it also.
Yeah, JC Arnold was right. Yeah.
What did Arnold say?
I'm coming all the time. It's like I'm coming in the gym.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's an interesting feeling. Especially when you're a chick, because you're not supposed to like really feel that when you're a chick.
Yeah. All right. So one thing that I know you wanted to talk about, our mutual friend Ryan Stone had retweeted this show, and I'm grateful because he's one of those red pill guys that you hear everybody talking about now. Yeah, and like if you talk to him and you listen to him, you would never think half the things that people say about the red pill, quote unquote, are true, because Ryan's, I don't know. Listen, like I'm friends with Rolo now. I'm friends with Ryan. John Fitch follows me. I'm friends with Glenn Lawrence. Pretty much all the big red pill guys I'm friends with, other than maybe like if you want to put Myron in there. I don't know. Don't talk to Myron, and I don't like him either. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're like the nicest dudes ever, and they have gone out of their way to promote my stuff. Like I literally messaged Rolo, and I'm like, hey, I know this might be a big ask, but could you like play my song at the end of your stream? He was like, yeah, dude, I'll fucking play it now. Oh yeah. So like they have been incredibly kind to me, and like to see them getting pilloried, I kind of understand it, but like you guys realize that this is like a small internet niche. Like Rolo is once again probably one of like the original figures from back in like the early 2000s, right? And he has 200,000 subscribers. So yeah, where's this mass influence? It's clearly not coming from him. But I think going into the 2024 election, people just really want to have a boogeyman, and Tate is now trying to appeal to the right wing, but he still gets labeled as a red pill, even though he's distanced himself from that. So like now it's a convenient boogeyman to blame those red pill guys, although people never name names or anything like that. But yeah, so like it's just a convenient boogeyman for people. But you've interacted with Ryan. He's, I don't want to say a big name in the space, but like he's a notable person there. He's just a fucking regular dude. Did
he and Rolo work together?
Yeah. So like they originally met at the 21 convention back in I want to say it was 2018. Well, it was the 21 convention held by Anthony Johnson, which if you ever want to see a Spurg, then it's a very, very interesting ordeal. But like some of the work that was, like some of the people that spoke there and some of the content that they put out back then was actually really, really good stuff. And they have a lot of good people that went there. But that's where I believe Ryan and Rolo kind of like originally linked up, was at the 21 convention, and then they had a podcast together called the Red Man Group. And then once Anthony Johnson lost his mind and kind of started going after Rolo and Ryan, then that's when they split apart, and then now they do Rule Zero, and then you'll still see Ryan and Rolo doing streams together all the time. But it's so funny that they say, oh, red pill guys are so down on marriage. Okay, well, Ryan's like entire channel and entire presence in the red pill is about long-term relationships. Like literally, the first time I heard of Ryan was from a video of Rich Cooper, if you know who he is, Entrepreneurs in
I've
Cars.
heard the name. I don't
Yeah,
know. Sorry.
you've probably seen him on Twitter. I'm like 50-50 on him. I like some of his stuff and I sometimes don't, but like I remember seeing Ryan and I hated him at first, but he originally came up as like the long-term relationship whisperer. That's what he's known for, is to just say like, hey, you know, you got a wife and kids, maybe you have a dead bedroom, or like, what can you do to get, what behaviors can you exude, or what can you do to like make your life a little bit better, to get your wife to stop yelling at the kids, start having sex again, like what can you do to make your long-term relationship better? And you know, you always get pilloried as, oh, those red pill guys are looking to, you know, destroy the West, promote degeneracy. Like if you just take some time and get to know some people, you'll see that it's pretty much, hey, what can you do to improve your life?
Right. Like when I might have seen a few clips of Ryan prior to actually interacting with him on Twitter. And now that I've interacted with him on Twitter, I've like looked for some of his content before, and I saw something recently, and I don't want to like completely misquote what he said or even mischaracterize it, because
Even if you do, you don't care.
yeah, it was a guy either on Reddit or to him directly asked, you know, haven't had sex with my wife in however 2 years, let's say. She's a huge bitch. I'm just going to start cheating. And he went into this whole thing about like how dumb that was, if I recall correctly. Again, I'm sorry if I mischaracterized it, but it was very interesting. Ryan is one of the few that I feel like if you're talking about male self-improvement, Ryan is actually talking about that. Whereas sometimes I feel with Rolo, like it's, and I don't want to say it's shitting on women necessarily. Rolo, to me, there's like a hopelessness to some of the stuff he says. And I don't know if one thing that I remind myself a lot now when I like engage with some of this content is that it's not for me. So if I'm getting like about the way it's coming across or something, I'm like, well, they're not communicating it to me. Like, it's not to appeal to me. It's not even for me. Yeah. The Vice isn't for me. Whatever. But like, there's just like, I don't know why this in particular bothers me, but whenever Rolo brings up like the hot guy at the foam cannon parties, I just want to fucking scream. I don't know why. Because to me, everything I see then comes across as like, oh, if you're not that guy, like this is all you can hope for. Like, this is how women are going to treat you. And you know, she's not yours, it's just your turn. And all that kind of stuff just seems very like negative to me.
Okay, so I kind of understand that. And Ryan would say, as he said in the show that Brandy Wren, Ryan and I all did together, Ryan would always say, well, I'm not fucking men. So like, you know, when it comes to women asking about red pill stuff, it's just, well, you know, that's kind of the go-to thing. But so like I said, with Ryan stuff, it's always like long-term relationship stuff. And then like with Rolo, I think like a lot of what people tend to miss is that like some of the stuff that's coming out of red pill is supposed to be good mental models, right? So like not necessarily that like this is always universally true no matter what, but like what is going to put you in the mind space that's going to be most productive for you to live a better life, right? Like if you were to consider these things. So like if you consider it's not, you know, she's not yours, it's just your turn, then you realize like, oh, if something bad happens between you and a girl that you're seeing at that time, then you realize, okay, well, this is a more productive mental model to think that it's, you know, she's never mine, it's just my turn. But like also on top of that, when you also interpret things this way, then you also realize that like, hey, I still have to earn my keep. And I think that's very productive as well, because like no woman wants to be with a guy who just completely slacks off and then says, fuck it, I'm just going to eat Doritos on the couch and play World of Warcraft, which I do a lot of, but I still kill it in other regards. But like
Adrian loves Doritos too.
Yeah. Well, I don't do Doritos, but I do play lots of World of Warcraft. But besides the point, that's okay.
He's not fat though for some reason. It's really annoying.
Yeah, well, some people are just lucky that way. Listen, if I just ate nothing but junk food all day, I would get fat as hell. I mean, that's part of the reason why my dirty bulk went wrong. But like, okay, so like when it comes to she's not yours, it's just your turn. It's a useful mental model. If you're seeing a girl right now and things don't work out, then you realize, okay, well, now I can move on. I don't have to be attached to this. But also at the same time, like I have to earn rent's due every day, right? That's The Rock saying, you know, the rent's due. Well, okay, well, what do you do to maintain that attraction each day? And I think, once again, that's why that saying isn't necessarily like it's wholeheartedly true, but it's a useful mental model that will keep your head in the right place.
That's somewhat interesting because that's never how I interpret it, really. So again, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I have to say that up to bat, it actually is interesting though, because now that you mention it like that, I do find that it seems as though men take heartbreak really, really hard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's harder than the women I know. I think maybe we underestimate how hard you guys take it because I don't know. There's a million reasons why that could be, but so if you're talking about it like that, I guess it could make sense to be like, okay, move on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't dwell on this. In that sense, I think that makes sense if that's what he's sort of talking about.
Well, I think that's kind of goes under that mental model. So like this also goes kind of the point of being zeroed out, which I think is very, very necessary for every guy. And this may get to a space where I think you and I may agree or disagree, but I think it's going to be interesting for the conversation anyways. So like a lot of our friends in our sphere are very, very traditionally minded, right? Well, the problem with this is that you really set yourself up to be zeroed out. And like, I think coming back from being zeroed out is a good thing. So like being zeroed out is basically like you lose everything.
Yeah.
You're at a point where like things are fucking bad for you. Like this is kind of where I was back in 2016, 17, I would say, probably like right after I graduated college. I started working a new job, things were going well, and then I got a girlfriend, and then like I was very,
this makes okay. I wanted to know your origin story, your Red Pill origin story.
This is a little bit of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So like back in 2016, 17, and I don't know if I've ever, no, you and I probably told this. I did a Sunday Coffee episode about getting zeroed out, but like this is kind of like a little bit of the background for me. So like, I was dating this girl who, I don't want to say her name, but like, she was beautiful. I mean, absolute stunner, and the sex was really, really good. So I mean, that's part of the thing too. But like, my best friend at the time had lied to her and said that I was cheating on her, and she believed him wholesale. So I mean, and this wasn't like the first time that I'd been zeroed out over a girl. The first time was probably when I was like 15 years old, and that's like a story for another time. But like, so my best friend at the time, who there were like a lot of indicators that I could.
Was he trying to fuck her?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But there were a lot of indicators prior to this that would have let me know, had I just paid attention, that he was not really a good friend, and that probably would have suggested that he would have did something like this. So she just made my life a living hell, and I shouldn't necessarily say she because that kind of puts her in charge of it, but like I let this situation completely ruin my life for probably a good 3 or 4 months. And I remember we were on the phone, she'd be screaming, calling my mom a cunt and stuff like this because, I mean, my mom is, oh yeah, it was bad. So,
Oh no.
she was probably cheating. I don't know what all was going on, but like, at that point I was kind of zeroed out. And once again, I had a choice of, okay, well, I can either let this completely destroy my life and be miserable, or I can choose to get back on the fucking pony and rock and roll. And well, what I do, start a band, and then, started spinning plates, if you will. And once again, details from there on are a little bit irrelevant, but once again, I made the conscious decision that like, hey, I need to improve. And I don't know if I was necessarily listening to like red pill content at this time. I probably was, because I had been aware of it even before then. I want to say probably around 2013 or 14 is probably where I first became aware of it. But right after her, for probably about another year or two, I kind of ran around, and then I met my wife in 2018, late 2018. And that was when I was listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson. So I was a lot more traditionally minded. And just over time, I kind of realized that like when I see people who are very traditionally minded, I think they build like this narcissistic fantasy, right? Where they're looking for their trad wife, right? So the problem is that they're looking to find a girl who's going to meet their criteria. And when you first meet somebody, obviously you have a lot of feelings, and you're not willing to be patient and learn and, consider if you're going to be a good long-term partner for this person. So what do? You just love bomb them. They love bomb you. And then maybe you get a little bit more down the line, you figure out, oh, like I actually don't enjoy spending time with this person. Like I don't like this person anymore. Once the whole honeymoon phase is over.
It's happened to me
Yeah.
so many times.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like these traditionally minded guys, they're not willing to kind of get a little bit more experience. And I'm not, once again, this does not mean you have to have sex with everything that walks, but
Right.
go out and date non-exclusively, enjoy the company of other people, become a socially charming person, and understand that there's no one woman out there for you. There's a whole bunch of people, and there's gonna be some people that you can get along with, and there's gonna be some people that you can't. When you have this traditional mindset, you're fixated on that, you eliminate the possibility of finding out if there's maybe someone out there better for you. Not to say that, like, you should, once again, fuck everything that walks, but like you're going to forego some things. You're going to forego some red flags, and then you may find out that those red flags may come back to bite you in the ass in terms of a divorce. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. This is actually something that I did discuss with Ryan on Twitter, because I felt like everybody was basically saying to people, like, get married as soon as possible. Like, if you wait longer than however much time, you're wasting your time, and blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm like not the best poster child because I'm very risk averse in a lot of ways, so I might wait too long. But at the same time, I said to him, I thought that you can't commit to somebody until you've been in like a serious fight, or something really bad has happened in one of your lives, because that's a side that you can't see until that stuff actually happens. People are always like, she married an abusive guy. Well, she should have known beforehand. Okay, I mean, yeah, maybe if she had actually vetted him properly, but there's this idea that you have to like jump into these really serious committed relationships, and you never do that. And then surprise, surprise, you're getting divorced a few years later because those habits that you didn't see before have come up. And I think Ryan did agree with what I said with that. And I thought that was interesting, because it seems like, I don't know about Rollo, because I have seen him. I don't know if he's being funny when he's talking about religion. I really hate the religious shit. Like, in general, I'm not religious, but I don't have like a hatred for it. But like, oh my God, it's so fucking annoying to just hear the way these fucking people bring their Christianity into everything. I'm like, well, guess
Jesus
what?
smuggling.
I'm not fucking Christian, so now what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're kind of landing in my my territory here, Siege. Oh, thank you so much, Siege. I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for coming on Glenn Lawrence's stream, Kyle. Thank you so much.
That?
Yes,
That
I
sounds
had.
familiar.
He's actually a biblical pastor. He went to
Love talking
college and
shit.
everything. Oh no, hold on. He's a he's a red pill guy. I mean, he actually does all like Rollo's video work. One more time, thank you, Siege. Yeah, Glenn is a great dude, and he's another one of those red pill guys. But I mean, he literally went to college to become a biblical pastor, and he's just like the nicest dude ever. Super down to earth. He was a bodybuilder at one point. Dude is jacked as all get out. So I mean, follow him on Twitter. I think it's under Mr. Glenn Lawrence. But he's very he's very biblically educated. He's been going at the Chase Sovereign bra NPC a lot lately. So like, I don't have a problem with people being religious, but like when it's a skin suit for you to sell your dating program, which is literally what he does. He has a religious dating network, and he told this huge story. I wish I had the tweet handy, but like he said, oh, well, you can meet your trad wife if you join my dating group. I'm like, dude, fuck you.
Right.
And like, once again, you complain about these degenerates, but you're on the not fresh and fit, but you're on whatever with a sex doll, and then now you draw a line at the fleshlight. Like, you can have the sex doll right there, but not the flesh. It's such a grift.
I do get a little bit annoyed with the amount of like focus on looks that some of the red pill people put on, because I feel like men don't understand that there's a lot more to what we like than looks. However, with that Chase guy, he can get away with a lot of shit because he's very good looking. He's a very good looking guy. So anybody who buys into the nonsense of a really good looking guy, bad idea. Like, it's like if I was taking dating advice from fucking Emily Rechkowski or whatever the fuck her name is, and it's like, she's a fucking 10 out of 10. And she's like, I don't know, just like walk in somewhere and you'll meet a guy. It's
Well,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
okay,
the
for
guys.
you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
guys saying just be yourself. The natural who says, "Oh, just be yourself." Well, yeah. When
Right.
you look like fucking Alan Richardson off of fucking off of Reacher, then yeah, just be yourself.
Oh
Works
my
perfectly
God.
fine.
That might be one of the best looking men in the world.
Yeah, no, listen, Brandy made fun of me because I'm like, I love Reacher, and like that's the first show I've seen in a long time that had like a good male model that wasn't like over the top. And you know how every single fucking TV show plays dudes right now. Either they're Homer Simpson or they're a borderline abuser. Reacher was like the first show that just had like a reasonable male archetype that did morally questionable things, but it was still like a good show overall with a good story, and
I've
there
never
wasn't like so
seen
much.
it.
Oh, you haven't seen Reacher?
No, I know who the guy is though, because I've seen him in other things. And every time
Okay.
I've seen him, I've looked him up because I'm like, God, he's hot. Who is he?
Yeah, no, the show's actually really, really good too. And yeah, he is diced as hell. Looks Maxers are usually black pill guys. I like wheat waffles. Yeah, the Looks Max stuff is ridiculous because like
What's that? What does he mean by that?
Looks Maxers basically guys that just believe it's all looks.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I actually saw it was a few months ago that some incel account on Twitter, literally like his name incel was in the name.
Oh, incels.io. They've retweeted me a few times. I'll never get over how weird that is.
Okay, so they posted some guy, some Asian guy who was who's like, I walked up to a girl on campus last night in the middle of the night and asked for her number, and she called security on me. We can break down, why he shouldn't have done that. Don't walk up to a random girl you don't know in the middle of the night on campus. It's so weird. Anyway, and they're like, okay, so you're ugly. You need to get your lips fixed, your nose fixed, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with his lips and his nose? He's just an Asian guy. Like, what the fuck? And they're like, well, you date him then. And I was like, first of all, I have a boyfriend. Second of all, this kid's 19. Third of all, like, just because I'm saying he's not terrible looking doesn't mean I have to date him. But it was just weird. I mean, because like when these guys talk about how hideous they are, and then you see them, you're like, there's no reason that your looks should preclude you. Like, I know guys who look way worse than you who are booed up like easily. So I just hate that looks focus from men. Yeah, I understand why some women might need to do that, but for men, it's like, come on, you guys there's so much more to you.
Yeah, well, I mean that's also kind of the thing is that like for us it's a lot more variable because like there are objective attraction cues, but like you still have so many other things that you can kind of pull on as well. And like to just not be the average guy, Nuclear Cadillo and I kind of talked about this a little bit when he did my show like a week or two ago. And like to not be an average dude is just so freaking easy. And especially like with how many guys are necessitous, if you're willing to just go above and beyond a little bit, like how I was saying in the beginning of the show, like to get to the 400-pound deadlift and all this stuff, that stuff is like well beyond average, and you could easily do that with like 2 years of consistent work. Now nobody wants to hear that like, hey, you have to consistently do something for 2 years.
Do it.
Yeah, but like once again, our mutual friend Heidi, I think you follow her, Briones, she had said something to me like, oh, well, you're just like naturally blessed, something like that. And my autistic ass kind of like spurred out on her. I was like, no, it's like 10 years of hard work. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is 10 years of hard work. She's like, oh, I'm kidding. Like, you win this one. But like, nobody wants to hear that, like, to get to at least where I am physically, like, hey, I had to put in 10 years of work. Like, I've had people ask me if I was on steroids and shit, but like, this is a long time of work. And
it's like people who think you take the steroids and just sit there, you're going to get jacked.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of hard work. Like those people who are as jacked as they are, if you look like Alan Richardson, it's not because you just did steroids. No, you
right. He worked really hard, and the steroids helped maybe get to a level that might have been difficult otherwise. But that doesn't mean that he didn't work his ass off. Like he's still strong, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. What's up, Heidi?
Yes, I do follow her, I think.
Yeah, oh, she's great. There's a funny green text story about a guy having to hide in an escape room with a few women. One of them was so scared, she held his hand, and he lost his shit. Yeah, I mean, like, if you're doing shit like that, then you kind of deserve to lose it. And, like, the whole incel thing, I don't know anybody who, like, identifies as an incel. And look, if you do, you're a loser. If you are identifying as your inability to get laid, you are a loser, and you should probably stay there. If you ever identify that you cannot get laid, then I don't know what to do with you. Like, you deserve to lose.
Yeah, I mean, like that account is literally like that guy. And that guy somebody, I remember him saying more than once, like, no, I'm actually a good looking incel or something. And I'm like, I mean, listen,
I've gotten
with
incel plenty of times.
with the availability of the apps and shit, like, this is what I think I said to him. I was like, are you asking out ugly girls? Are you asking out fat girls? Are you asking, like, what is who are you getting turned down by? Because I don't believe there's not one girl out there who would fuck you. Like, I'm sorry, I've been a girl of a lot of different, weights and looks throughout my life. I know what it's like to be, not the best. And I'm just saying that there were times where I was begging for like anybody to ask me out in my head. And I'm like, I don't know that I would have turned down a good looking guy just because he was a little weird back then. I don't know. But like, I can't believe that you've exhausted all options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think those guys do either. I think they're too sedated. So like, this is the thing, and I'm sure you've probably seen people going back and forth on porn on Twitter. Like, you're not going to get rid of it. Like, even if you want to pass laws against it, it is not going to happen. You have to accept that, like, now that we have this technology, there are plenty of men who are thirsty enough, and there are plenty of women that are willing enough to show their tits and asses off all day every day, and there's plenty more guys that are willing to pay for it all day every day. You're just not going to get rid of it. We cannot put that genie back in the bottle. If you want to be on the moral high ground and say that you're not going to watch it and you're going to avoid all this stuff, good on you. But like, just understand this is not going anywhere. We open Pandora's box. Sex work is as old as fucking time. I mean, you could give apes currency and they'll figure out how to pay for sex with it. So, I mean, like, I hate to say it, this is kind of innate to human nature. Now, is it right or wrong? That's up for you to decide. I'm not here to give people morals, but like, this is going to be here regardless. You got to learn to you just have to learn to live with it. But the problem is, for a lot of guys, they sedate themselves with this, right? They're going to sit there and watch porn all day, and they're going to think that they're doing, the right thing because, hey, I'm satisfying my sexual desires this way, rather than going out there and, hey, pick up that barbell, bend the barbell, go do some curls, go learn a trade or something like that. Go do something that makes you a more attractive person, rather than sitting here watching porn or playing video games or something like that. Quit sedating yourself, quit smoking weed, quit drinking too much, and go do something.
Yeah, and I imagine that all of those activities you just mentioned require social interaction with other guys who could probably either you pick up some cues from them, or they can actually give you advice and help you. I do remember, like, I thought that Gavin McInnes, I used to think that his point about stopping porn was really useful, because he was tailoring that idea to stop porn to the guys who use it in lieu of seeking out like a relationship or like having sex with their wives or whatever. But like, I almost think if you never watch porn or something, you're almost weirder, because it's like, come on, you've never just like, I don't know. I think like then I'm like, oh, you have a hang up somewhere probably.
Well, listen, every single dude probably has a story when they're in elementary school, them and a bunch of, and look, I'm not saying that this is right. I'm just saying this is probably the way
I have that
goes.
story and I'm a girl. So
yeah, but like, a whole bunch of kids are sitting around like, dude, I like boobs. Yeah, me too. So what do? They go onto the internet, type in boobs, and then they start scrolling through stuff. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's going to be there regardless. We have to live with it. And it's funny that Chase dude, I don't want to say I hate him, but I kind of hate him. It's just so funny that, once again, you would complain about degenerate podcasts, and then, your thing is, oh, I didn't have sex, but oh, I fell for temptation, and they're selling pocket pussies on here. I just can't stand people who want to use their religion to beat everybody else over the head. Like Buck Johnson, who I'm not sure if you know, he hosts Counterflow. Tommy Salmons, these guys kind of get it right. Tommy. Yeah, Tommy's one of the greatest people on the face of the planet. Absolutely,
and his pit bulls look like Bugsy.
Yeah, they're adorable. They remind me of my father-in-law's dog Daisy. But they I completely forgot where I was going with that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, but basically, like, no, you're okay. They get the religion part right, where basically, like, they don't use their religion to beat people over the head. Yes, Mike, I like Iron Disciples a lot. So if Siege, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mike's actually the dude who literally implements a lot of like red pill practices, and he's literally a virgin at almost 30 years old. And like, I don't say this is dig, like, bravo on you, dude, to like withhold yourself from temptation for that long because you want to find the right woman. I
Well, it's
fucking
funny. I
commend
just
it.
think about like when I grew up, the amount the amount of pressure there was to lose your virginity by like the age of like 14.
Ooh,
And like I used to lie about it because I was a virgin until
yeah,
like 19 or 20. And I used
yeah,
to just tell people I had because I wanted to be like everybody else.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, one of my older brother's friends who doesn't go here, like, because back in my day, you were a fucking weirdo if you weren't like hypersexual. And I do kind of like that culture seems to be going away a little bit because I think that the hyper promiscuity sort of trend is turning over because it's funny now when you guys talk about like the girls in their 30s who like turn around and find Jesus. I'm like, it's kind of funny because it's so obvious, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel bad for them because I remember what it was like growing up like that, and there was this idea pushed down your throat that, casual sex and just go out and do your thing and all that kind of stuff. Women can have casual sex just like men can, and there's nothing different, and it's a good thing, and yada yada yada. I'm not rendering an opinion on any of that. More just to say that I think that taking that pressure out of the culture is a good thing. I kind of get annoyed when those girls get shamed though, because I'm like, it's what everybody was doing. And I know that's not really an excuse, but it's also kind of like, I mean, it's basically like looking back at, the 1600s and being like, they're racist. And it's like,
right.
yes,
It's
they're a
it's
product of their
essentially,
time.
yeah. It's essentially like a Monday morning quarterback kind of deal. And this
Right.
is kind of why, like, I consider myself pro-life as it gets, right? Like, the only exceptions I would say are rape, incest, or life of the mother, right? So, I mean, maybe that makes me a little bit less pro-life than other people, but I'm okay with that. I don't like those exceptions, but to me, they make sense. So, like, I don't want to hold women accountable for first degree murder because I believe they've legitimately been lied to their entire lives because they've been told that, like, hey, this body, this fetus inside your body, like, this isn't a life. They're under the impression that, hey,
Right.
this is your bodily autonomy, so therefore it's okay for you to get rid of this if you want. Now my thoughts on this always is that, like, you are responsible for the consequence of your actions. We all understand that when you have sex, there's potential for a kid. Anytime you have sex with anybody, you are consenting to potentially having a kid, no matter what. Even if you don't want it, that's still, I mean, we all know what that is for. There's not a single adult that consents to sex that does not know that that's a potential outcome. So, just be very, very careful. And like, there's so many forms of contraceptive and protection and stuff like that. For you to get pregnant in 2024, it's pretty fucking difficult. And my wife and I have been together for 5 years and no kids. I'm
Yeah. I
promising
mean,
you, yeah,
there is like a period in your life where you're very fertile and you don't, things can happen. But yes, I mean, look at all the women out there who are like measuring their temperature and like timing sex and stuff to get pregnant. It's not as easy as they made you think back in the day.
right. But like,
But
so
yeah, I
like,
mean, like any sort of crime has, and again, this is not strictly the legal analysis you provided this, but I'm going to give a little sort of thing.
sure.
Any sort of crime requires an act and the mental state. Now,
Mhm,
with an abortion, if my mental state is that I'm not killing somebody and that this is, just like a clump of cells or whatever they say,
mhm,
and I'm just like nipping in the bud something that could have grown into a baby, but it hasn't yet, I don't think that I had the mens rea to kill somebody. Now,
correct. Yeah.
the mens rea thing is actually more like, did I have the guilty
The
mind to do
intent.
the act regardless of
Yeah.
what the outcome was? But I'm saying in that sense, you do have to think about it like that. Like to me, let's say I got an abortion and I was thinking, you know, it doesn't become a life until it's literally coming out of me. I
Mhm,
I didn't think I was doing anything wrong then. So it's kind
mhm.
of weird to prosecute me for first degree murder at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's oh, thank you so much, Siege. Thank you for stopping by and thank you for the super chat. I'm glad you
I don't
hung
know
out
who
for a
you
little
are,
bit.
but you seem cool.
He gave a super chat. He's a friend of Glenn Lawrence's. But yeah, like the whole abortion thing, it's like I said, I don't believe this goes back to the promiscuity point. That's where I want to go. But like, when we have this idea that, like, casual sex is fine for everybody, no matter what. And like, even for some guys, it's probably not okay for them. But like, when you grow up around this, then there is a certain cultural phenomena where you kind of understand that, like, hey, everybody's doing this, so therefore it's probably okay. But my problem is like when girls want to come around and start, stomping on the necks of other women for doing the
Yes.
same thing. And like, should they be doing it? No, but we cannot hold other people accountable, and it's going to be on women to hold other women accountable if they can even do that, which I don't think
What
they
the
can.
fuck is, and this is, okay, this is going to be a short tangent.
Sure, good.
You guys, and by you, I mean like you, Rolo, Ryan, let's say, would say like, we're not responsible for the retard's interpretation of the red pill. And to some degree, I do agree with you. But it's interesting when you see a certain, like, you see the prevalence of certain phrases getting repeated all the time, such as like, women initiate 70% of the horses, and if it's not, if it's college educated, it's 95% or whatever the fuck they say. One of the things I continue to see people say is, we gotta hold women accountable. It's called accountability. Accountability is like, whatever to women. What the fuck do you mean by holding women accountable?
Accountable basically means that women would have to reconcile the consequence of their actions, which generally today. Oh, thank you so much, JC. I don't know that I'm coming on 5 till midnight. I'm a regular. I'm part of the show. But sorry. So like, basically, holding women accountable would basically mean what people want to see is women basically recognizing the consequences of their action and realizing that like what they did was wrong, but women never do, right? And they're never going to have to, because once again, guys are going to be there to absolve them of all the responsibility. And anytime that like,
but if I just say like, okay, I did something wrong, now what?
Well, like, basically women don't want to be judged for their bad actions, right? So like, when it comes to the body count conversation, I really don't care about this as much as people might think, but like, when a guy says like, hey, I don't want a woman who's been ran through, a woman's going to get mad because a guy says that. So like, her taking accountability for that would be like recognizing it, like, hey, I am no longer available to the guys that I may want because they may want a woman who hasn't been ran through as much. It's basically women, once again, recognizing that their actions have consequences, and that like, hey, once again, if you slept around a lot or something like that, then you may not want, a guy that you may want may be now no longer a potential, match for you.
Okay, that's fine. I see no problem with that.
Sure. But like women generally don't want to recognize that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, when I see a guy being like, I want a woman who's 120 pounds or less, I'm like, okay, you would never want me. Like, that doesn't piss me off. I'm not trying to convince you not. Is that what you guys are seeing basically is what I'm saying? Is people like trying to convince you that it's not a good idea to like,
I think I don't think I'm following you necessarily, but like what a lot of guys want to see, and what part of guys like Rolo and Ryan would tell you, and myself included, would be that like, you have to understand that like this reckoning for women, where women realize that like their actions do have consequences and they have to live in the same reality that guys do. Whereas like, okay, so if you're a guy, there's no abundance of pussy for you. Right? I mean, guys get rejected all the time. And the reason why guys watch porn so much is because, our innate desires to have constant sexual access, right? For women, they can get penis anytime they want. Like literally all they have to do is just call, whoever up in their contacts. They could just, flick up on their contacts and drop on a guy and they could instantly have sex with them. But like, that's not what women want. Women aren't looking for constant sex, right? That's what guys are looking for. Men have to face an objective reality because like we have a burden of performance, which women have something similar, but like for us, it's constantly reinforced, where like, if we're not living up on our job, then okay, well, if we're not making enough money, then we don't get positive reinforcement from women anymore. If we don't maintain our fitness, then we don't get reinforced from women. And once again, this is exclusive to men, but this is kind of an overall dynamic.
How many broke losers do you see out there who are just like pulling down? Like, there's a lot. There are some guys who manage to pull that off. Like, okay, but I mean, this is like, there's a lot of poor guys have a lot of more babies than rich guys, and baby mamas. Like, I understand what you're saying, but like, okay, so maybe you're not entitled to the woman you want. It doesn't mean you can't get anyone.
Nobody's entitled to anything, though, and that's the thing that's what a lot of guys need to realize too, is that like, you are not entitled to that. And this is another one of the concepts that Ryan talks about that I absolutely love, and I think this is so applicable to so many different places in your life, is covert contracts. So like the covert contract is basically the idea that like you do something for people or something like that to get something in return from somebody. Oh my God, Alan, a key that opens many locks is a good key. A lock that opens for any key is a bad lock. That's a friend of mine from high school. Good to
This
see
is
you,
a
brother.
psychopath girl on Twitter, YouTube. She literally like that's how she like markets herself. It's like, I'm a diagnosed psychopath.
Mhm.
And she had like a analogy with a pencil sharpener, and I
Mhm.
forget what it was, but it was actually kind of funny. But yeah, I get it. That's a great analogy.
It is kind of funny, but like, so covert contracts. That's what I want to do. I kind of get to like what a lot of guys will do, and I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've experienced it, where guys will do like nice things for women, or
Oh, and they
what they
expect.
exactly right. That's a covert contract because, like, let's say, when I first met my wife, her and I go out to eat, I expect that she's going to reciprocate love and affection because I did something nice for her. That is a covert contract because I had had this contract made up in my head that, I never explicitly made clear to her and that she doesn't know, but I expect her to agree to it. So like this is a very, very bad mental model because it leads you down a path that's not realistic. So like really what your perspective should be that like you want to do nice things for people because you care about them and because you think it's the right thing to do. And you have the abundance in your personal life to do these things. It shouldn't be because, oh, I did this thing, now I should get X, right? That's a
Right.
bad mental model.
Well, I mean, it's like the first thing you learn in law school is how to form a contract is offer, acceptance.
Mhm.
That there has to be the acceptance. If you assume that like, yeah, if you assume that because you paid for dinner, I have to put out. Did I ever say that was going to happen?
Exactly. Right. Right. It's a
Yeah.
very, very, yeah, that's a covert contract and it's a very, very bad mental model because once again, how many times have you gone out with a guy for a date and then, he kind of had that expectation. And
Yeah, that's
I did
why
this
for a
too.
long time I
Yeah.
wouldn't let guys pay because I was
Mhm.
like, no, fuck this. Either
Mhm.
we're splitting or like if we go to a secondary location, I'm paying for that one because I was sick of hearing my guy friends talk about shit like that, being like, I spent, whatever on this, whatever, and she like was like, okay, bye. And I'm like, I don't want to be that girl. I don't want to be that girl. So for a long time I
Uh-huh.
was like, hey, can I pay? Do you want to split?
Mhm.
Like because I didn't ever want someone to be able to say that about me.
Mhm. Well, I think
Because
paying,
that, yeah.
yeah, I agree with Rolo here that like paying on the first date, I think is a good idea because it establishes frame, right? You establish that like, hey, this is something that I'm setting up and I'm taking us through this experience. And I'm, kind of, this is my world. You're entering it. And I want you to be a part of this. I want you to want to be a part of this.
Sure, as long as you've done that for a reason other than getting your dick wet.
Yeah, right, right. And well, once
Yeah.
again, this is eliminating covert contracts, which is something that a lot of guys need to do. Very, very bad mental model that will set you up for failure every single time.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that because there is, I mean, the amount of times like I again, because I would when I could tell I wasn't like vibing, I would offer to pay or, even if it was vibing, I still for a while was offering to pay a lot. And you would even but on occasions where I didn't, or they'd be like, no, no, no. And then like they didn't get anything, you'd get those weird text messages like, I took you and I paid for this. And I'm like,
Oh.
did you forget the part where I offered? Like, or like, do you think that you can buy me for a double vodka and soda? Like, I'm not trying, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's not how that works. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't want to say it's creepy, but like I get why guys do it because we're deductive problem solvers, right?
Yeah.
We see this, and every guy's going to have a strategy of how he can get laid, how he can pick up a woman, whatever. If you're if you think, hey, taking a woman out for a drink entitles you to that, then like once again, how many girls out there are getting text messages from guys all day, every day saying, hey, do you want to go for a drink later? Like you should have something else to offer, or you need to incentivize that behavior, or you need to be the kind of person that, that person wants. That's really all there is to it. You can't expect to pay your way into bed unless you.
And there's like a kind of a dirty little secret that no girls would really tell you, is that if it's vibing and you turn her down or like don't expect sex, then she's going to be like, oh, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Now I want the sex because he didn't want it or whatever.
Well, it's the impression of abundance, right? So like if you don't need it, and once again, this goes back to the idea of like mental point of origin, where like you should want to do things for yourself and for other people because you think it's the right thing to do, not because you expect people are going to reciprocate in any kind of way. Because the idea is basically that you have the abundance and that you can create the environment in your life that you can give to other people out of the goodwill of your heart, not because, once again, you expect reciprocity.
Right. And I think this is another thing that men don't realize, because they'll say like, well, I was a nice guy and I didn't get laid. Women, I think on an evolutionary basis, have developed like a way to sniff out desperation. It is like, it comes out of your fucking pores when you guys are desperate. And it's not only a turnoff, it's like, it's a safety thing. Like I've read things that say, basically that women were biologically designed to assess the sex of somebody, like approach them who, like, they don't know the sex for whatever reason. We're able to pick up on that a lot easier than men are. Like, for example, when you guys see a trans woman with big tits, you're like, oh, she looks hot, big tits. Huh, maybe that's a dude. The first thing we see is dude, that's a dude. And it's because it's an evolutionary trait, because we needed to assess the threat. And I think this is a hypothesis that desperation comes off threatening. And that's another evolutionary thing that we sense, because, I could say, desperate men might be more likely to rape. I don't know that that's true. I think there's other things that go into that. But I'm saying desperation to a woman is like the biggest boner killer.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've tweeted this out, and I know I put it on Facebook before, but I said desperation isn't a good look on anybody. So like,
it's scary.
Right. Well, because that means that you have no other options. And, when was the last time that you wanted a car that nobody else wanted? So like, if you're the guy that nobody else wants and you're signaling that, imagine how unattractive that is to anybody. Like, if my band was playing for absolutely nobody and nobody cared about our music, which I'm told that people don't, and that my music is god awful. If people love to throw that one at me, whenever they probably never listen to it, but I think they just think it's going to bother me. I don't care. But, nobody wants to be with somebody. Nobody wants to be with a loser, right? I mean, that's all there is to it. Yeah. It's not a hard concept to grasp.
And I've got another newsflash for you. You're not nice if you're a nice guy who's like, you're not nice. You're clearly doing something with the expectation of a quid pro quo. You're not fucking nice. You're, the fish that Jordan Peterson talks about. The fish that like can disguise itself as a woman and then swim.
Oh, cuttlefish.
Yeah, you're one of those. Yeah. Like I can tell when a guy's being sneaky fucker. That's it. I can tell when a guy's being genuinely nice versus he's being nice because he thinks he's gonna get something. Because you know why? Because the minute you don't get it, you turn into the meanest motherfucker. You're not a nice guy. Should we get that out there? This nice guy thing has to stop. Mm-hmm. Shoe on Head actually had a very good video about this some years ago.
All right, we should get to this chat. Oh, the Drew Lock party. Oh, okay. All right, it's that.
I really like Jake. Mm-hmm. I really fucking hate him for doing this to me. I don't feel good about Drew Lock, Jake. Thank you.
Hey, look who it is. Lorenzo, good to see you, brother. Listen. Oh, what's good, guy?
Who's Lorenzo?
Titus Polo.
Oh, I love Lorenzo.
Yeah, Lorenzo's great. I do not like Rush that much, though. I know he loves Rush. I'm just not a fan of Rush.
I'm not a big metal person, I don't think.
Well, they're not even metal. They're like prog rock. Yeah.
Okay.
See, there you go. I'm a heavy metal kid, so like that's
I
know. My bread and butter.
Some of it's cool. I just like I need a little bit of like melodicism.
Okay, well, you know what? I could fix both. So my wife's favorite artist is Kelly Clarkson. and we're gonna go see her out in Atlantic
Got some
City.
pipes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the joke was I took my wife to meet Kelly Clarkson in New York, and we said she's part of my harem. So we're gonna go see the other part of my harem out in uh Atlantic City, New Jersey in May. And where the fuck was I going with that? Oh, she sang. Oh, what the fuck is that song? She did a duo with a guy. Oh my, it's like a real bluesy song. Um,
Oh, I
Lose
love when she
Control.
does. Yeah, I
Lose
like
Con-
when she does the
yeah.
bluesy. Like she has that kind of voice. Yeah,
She's an incredible singer. So
yeah,
what
she
am
got pipes.
Lose Control. Teddy Swims. Teddy Swims. It was Teddy Swims and Kelly Clarkson, and I listened to that. I'm like, wow, that is fucking incredible. And originally, my singer actually posted it, and my wife saw that my singer posted it. She's like, oh yeah, Jen posted that originally. So once I had listened to it, I was coming home from the gym Sunday, and I turned it on the vibe. I'm like, this is like the most wonderful thing ever. It's so good. Like I am jealous. I can kind of sing. I can't sing that
I
well.
can't.
If you heard me sing underneath Jen, I sound pretty good, but that's only because she's leading the way. I probably can't sing that well by myself, so take that with a grain of
I
salt.
can't sing at all. It's like one of my biggest I can't even say regret because it's not I can't control it. I can't fucking
Yeah.
sing and I want to. I think like a good singer, man, that just like hit I'm like one of those people who like gets goosebumps and shit from it and like it makes me so sad that I can't sing. I can kind of like imitate people. But like if I was gonna stand there and sing on my own, it's very bad.
Yeah, I'll always have immense admiration for my singer Jen because not only is she hilarious, she's one of my favorite people ever. But I remember when she was recording our first 4-song EP, and our engineer was trying to like pitch correct her, and I remember he stopped and he turned to her and said, "Look, I can sit here and fuck with this for hours, but you're so dead on that I just can't do anything about this. Like this is perfect." And it was all her. Like, and hearing her stuff, like once we're all done with it, she's such a fucking awesome singer, and she's such a hilarious, just
Has
fucking
she
great
been
person.
like because I know some people literally like just have it and then some people can get it if they train a certain like amount, but like you can kind of tell when it's like somebody who's been very well trained but like
Mhm.
doesn't have a great voice versus somebody who just like naturally has a great voice. Do you know like which one she is?
I think she's genetically blessed. I'm gonna be
Oh my
brutally
god,
honest with you.
Bugs just
Yeah.
farted. Oh, oh, that is vicious. He's laying under my legs right now. He's just oh my god.
Oh my god, that is horrible. I really want to see if I could find. Anyways, like there was a video of her on YouTube. I really wish I could find it. She did a acapella album, and there was also a video of her doing like some country song back in the 90s, and she just sounded so fucking incredible.
Your singer or Kelly
Yeah,
Clarkson?
my singer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's just insanely talented, and they also do a band called Strung Over, where my bass player, her husband, plays like a stand-up bass, and they have another dude that like sings and plays with them too. They do all sorts of like country songs and stuff like that.
It's interesting how those like American Idol people, like they or even just like pop singers in general, like they come in and they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be this thing," but then like they're really like so much better when they like get out of that. Like Christina Aguilera was supposed to be
Oh
like
yeah.
Britney, but
Mhm.
she actually had a fucking amazing voice. And when she got out of that, like it's her best music, but it's probably not as popular. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna bump personally, like right now, if I'm gonna bump a Christina Aguilera song, it's gonna be like fucking Genie in a Bottle or some shit. But like the ones where she like really fucking like it's amazing. But yeah, it's just interesting how that because Kelly Clarkson was supposed to be like one of those like
Mm.
pop, but she's got like real pop. Like I didn't even think I realized that until I heard some of her more recent music. She has this song called "Whole Lot of Woman" or something about that. That's
Yeah.
relatively new, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know she could sing like that. Jesus.
Yeah, it's definitely like forget like the lyrical themes of it, but like the song itself, I've heard that song plenty of times because obviously my wife plays it.
Yeah.
It is really good. I like the beat and everything, and yeah, she just has such a fucking great voice. It's funny, I'm sitting here talking about how much I love Kelly Clarkson, and my Singer and my wife this whole podcast, but those red pill guys hate women. I'm such a bad misogynist, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, I gotta say though, like, I mean, listen, to bring it back to all of that,
Mhm.
there is a strong undercurrent in a lot of it. I'm not gonna say all of it, obviously,
Mhm.
and a lot of it of like annoyed heterosexuals, by which I mean
Sure.
guys who are physically and sexually attracted to women, but fucking are mad about it, and they're like, I wish I wasn't because they're terrible. And it's like, I don't understand the point of that.
Of the rage? Well,
Yes, because it's like you're, unless you want to be a political gay, like there were political lesbians back in the day, like,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you
what's the
were more
point?
Yeah.
No.
There's a concept called red pill rage, which is basically once guys start to kind of learn more about red pill praxeology, then they tend to get disillusioned. They start to get angry. And I get it because like basically it's this idea like the Disney fairy tale of your one true soulmate. You find out it isn't true. And then, you kind of built your life around this ideal. And then, you basically have your ego invested in this. While when you find out that it's not true, then what do you have to do other than get angry? So people get angry because, hey, look, I've been lied to my entire life, essentially, is what people get pissed off about. So there is that, but like, the idea that you're going to hate half the other planet and like we kind of have to live together, we kind of have to share this whole ball that we inhabit together. There's no utility in that. So you might as well make the best of it and then be friendly with people too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know all the like real hardcore red pill guy, the most educated, I guess, red pill guys would say like these guys don't represent us. I don't care. They're people with large platforms, so to some degree they do. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. Like I have to deal with fucking Austin Peterson saying he represents libertarians when he's retarded.
Okay. Well, this brings up a good point though. Like, you can't help that retards are going to be retards, and no matter what, there's some people. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that it was Sneeko and Myron, and again, disclaimers.
Retards.
I've made them. Yes, we understand.
Retards.
I think it was when Destiny was on there, and they were talking about how you shouldn't live with a woman or something, and Destiny's like, so you just want to live with a bunch of guys? And he's like, yeah. Sneeko was like, yeah, what am I going to want? Like, I'm going to go see my boo bear and she's going to put her legs on my legs. Ugh. And it's like, oh, like, you don't like to hang out with women. Like, you don't like, even the ones you like, you don't actually like. Like, you like that she's there for the sex and whatever, chores you wanted her to do. You don't actually, so it's like, at that point, I'm like, what's the fucking point of you? Like, oh, did you freeze? Oh, yeah. What's the point of that? Like, I don't understand. So again, if you're one of those people, go MGTOW or go political gay.
Yeah, I mean the MGTOW thing. I was kind of interested in it back when I was a little bit more disillusioned at one point, in like going through the red pill journey, quote unquote, kind of kept me out of doing things like that. Like I enjoy being around other people now, and I enjoy interacting with women. I enjoy interacting with people in general. I mean, I've always been a gregarious person, so I mean, that's just me. Brandy sent me over a clip of Myron saying that like, oh, there's other ways to get satisfaction other than women. And like, she was like, oh, look, he's gay for this. I'm like, no, actually, I think that's actually a pretty good take to say that. Like,
no, that is actually a fine take. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you should be able to find satisfaction outside of just a relationship. And that doesn't just go for men either. That goes for women too. Like
I've said those things to female friends of mine who are obsessed with like, cannot be single for a fucking second. I'm like, you need a hobby, my friend. Like, yes. However, if you're going to be Mr. Mac Daddy, pickup artist, whatever, it's not really a good idea to hate the person you're trying to pick up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hating people just a little bit is good. Like I hate all my followers on Twitter just enough that I'm not going to lie to them or pander to them, which I think is a good mental model as well. Because you see too much of this, and I think this is kind of what happened with Tim Pool, is where you don't hate your audience enough, and eventually they just completely pull you in one direction, and you're completely bought in, and you can't change.
I cannot stand him.
No,
I'm so glad that you're with me on that, because I cannot fucking stand that guy.
Well, let me see if I could find it.
His voice, just hearing his voice lately is like, because he's like, again, and he's something, and I think people are gonna probably get like a little bit annoyed, ones in our circle, because I love this person, but he does it a little bit too. Dave Smith. There's a little bit of this. I know a good amount of my subscribers, followers, listeners are Christian, so like, let me start. I'm not gonna say that I'm a Christian, but like all of these values and it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Be what you are. Like, stand on your beliefs. If you're not Christian, don't pretend to be fucking Christian just because you know it'll make your audience happy. I fucking hate Tim Pool's the worst at that type of shit.
Being completely
a pandery.
Yeah.
And a pussy. And wrong about a lot of things.
I'm sorry. I want to find a video. Yeah, no. The problem with Tim Pool is, like
he's too
I said,
high on his own supply, is what I'm basically
he's
trying to say.
He's completely audience captured. Complete and total captured by his audience. Where is
100%.
Video?
When I think Scott Horton was on there, if you had read the fucking live chat and or the comments on that video now, as a libertarian, as someone who loves Scott Horton, like you are and I am, you will be filled with so much rage because the shit that they say is like, I'm like, how? Oh, yeah. We are not living in the same world.
I had to make a YouTube short of Scott calling them China Hawks. That was probably...
That was beautiful.
Oh my God. It still makes me smile when I watch it. You guys are such China Hawks here. Someone literally tagged me on Twitter and was like, oh my God, Scott just called them China Hawks. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, because like when Angela was on... What the fuck was
Hey, speak of the devil. Here. Glenn Lawrence, Meredith, make sure you go follow Glenn. He was on my show.
Hi, Glenn. I will follow you after this. I know your name. I just can't put it anywhere in my head.
But when really Angela was on,
when Angela was on, she was talking about, I forget, like abolishing NASA or something to that effect. And Ian, who usually I feel like has some moderately good takes, but Ian and Tim were immediately like, "Oh, it was Antarctica." Well, what if China just colonizes Antarctica? And it's like, what the fuck? Who the fuck? Like, why is everything about China?
I think we have probably a mutual love for Angela. She's an absolutely wonderful person.
One of my lovely friends.
But I feel bad because she gets completely treated like shit by them when she goes on there. And like, I get it. It's a good platform for her to like talk about the Libertarian Party and all that.
I think she holds her own though.
She does, but like they just fucking talk so far down to her. Like, this is your guest. You invited them on. Like, treat them at least a cunt hair decently, you know? Like, don't talk down to them the entire time. When people say that. Oh my God. I can't stand that shit. I was trying to find the video of Tim having a meltdown over the certain medical treatment stuff. Let me see if I could find this.
Well, so I mean, I will say, like, when he had Clint and Dave on around the time of that alleged like Osama bin Laden letter.
Oh my God. And he literally sounded like a fucking boomer. It was so bad.
I know. And I was like, dude, like, it's the first time I've seen him like give that level of pushback to Dave and Clint. So I was like, okay, like, it's not just Angela that gets it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, that right there, I'm like, okay, he's completely captured by fucking like boomer right wingers.
And he was so like, he was like, my point is they didn't read it. And it's like, Tim, you don't think that a person who's a lefty can selectively look past the line about gay people when it's a 5-page letter about a bunch of other shit? Do you know what Karl Marx said about gay people, and there's still like gay trans communists out there? Get over yourself and move on. It was such a weird like hill to die on. And that's what he's an intellectual weakling. He has no backbone or spine. He's obsessed with himself. Like, he talks about himself more than like you're the host, dude.
Oh,
I can't hear whatever's happening.
No, I'm trying to find the specific part where he fucking loses his mind, and then we'll have to wrap on this. Where is it? Okay, hold on. I will do the share screen, and then maybe we'll kind of wrap on this. And I got one question to ask you before we get it. Okay.
All right.
Can you hear that?
COVID and the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Donald Trump said 15 days until the spread. And we were all, what happened 4 years ago, now that we have hindsight.
Yeah.
like Ron was correct. No, Trump was correct. No, Ron. Years.
Yeah.
Prosecute
Can we
Fauci.
arrest
That
Fauci?
matters.
Can we
All I-
please
yes,
arrest Fauci?
We
That
can't.
matters.
All I'm trying to say is that, people have their opinions, very strong opinions about COVID. I'm, the biggest
this
Trump
so
supporter there
much.
is, and I never took the vaccine, never got boosted, never will. I'm a proud anti-vaxxer. More
That's all we do,
personal.
I'm losing my fucking
I feel
mind.
like I'm
you
moderating a
guys
zero
won't shut
hedge
the
debate.
fuck up.
Yeah, dude.
Shut
This
the
is what I
fuck
felt like
up.
at the zero hedge debate,
Dude,
by the way.
holy fucking shit.
Thank God. Beautiful. One of the greatest. That is probably the greatest.
That's
moment
what that
of
was
all
about?
Teamcast. Yeah, it was literally over Trump and the vaccine stuff.
Oh my god, I saw that and I was just like, I didn't know what it was about. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Oh my God, yeah, it's actually a decent show. But yeah, that moment, it's so funny because like it almost came out of nowhere. Like he kept saying, "I don't want to talk about it," and then he just fucking tweeted.
Dude, Loomer,
They're so great.
she looks like a completely different person from the. I found out about Loomer back in like 2017. She looks totally different.
Yeah, I mean, she also had her face.
Well, yeah, she has. I
butchered
mean, a
up.
lot of plastic surgery, but I actually kind of liked her makeup.
She's 29. She's like my age.
Dude, she's 6 years younger than me.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I'll be 30 in November. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's like a year or two older than me, and like she's getting. All
She
this
looked
plastic
older than
surgery
me
done.
when she was 23, and I don't usually like to say that about people. But I
Yeah.
don't like to make fun of people's looks, but like,
She looked rough. Go ahead, say it. She looked rough.
and sometimes when you get a lot of plastic surgery, it ages you as well.
No.
But
Okay,
that's
sorry.
all
I
I'm
want to
gonna
read
say.
this comment. JC, I do not hate you. I hate all my audience,
Hi,
all my
JC.
followers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, everybody. I just hate everybody just a little bit, just enough so that way I don't pander to you guys and tell you the absolute truth. All right, so couple questions to end the show on. Meredith, is everything going to be fine?
With what? Yes.
There you go.
I'm optimistic because I have to be. Otherwise,
Man.
I will be a MGTOW if I am not optimistic. Meredith going their own way.
It actually kind of works. I didn't even think about that. It's I'm kind of glad we didn't talk about political stuff. I'm going to be talking about foreign policy tomorrow because I have Liam Cosgrove on. But like,
Nice.
I don't know. Like, I get so tired of the political stuff sometimes, specifically when people want to talk about like Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's like, what is there left to say? And like, I think this is kind of why Reed.
What is there left to say?
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, like this is kind of why Reed said he was like done with podcasting. He's like, I just have like nothing left to say. Like I already said pretty much all there is to say about everything already, and like there's nothing to get excited about. I already know what the right's gonna say. I know what the left's gonna say. Everything's so predictable, and like what good is me owning the libs gonna do? I bitch about right wingers because like these are the people that are going to hear me and the people that I care about, and like me giving them a little bit more information might help them look at things a little bit of a different way. But like, I just don't see like a huge use for braiding the political topics any more than absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, what is there left to say? I mean, we'll see if they even let Trump run.
I think it's going to be. I think Trump wins. If you asked me a year ago,
I think so
would've
too.
said, yeah.
And I almost want to say to these liberals or anti-Trump people, it's like, hey, if he wins this time, he can't run again. So
Yeah.
at least
Well, I mean, on
what's
top of
coming.
that, like you guys got everything you wanted. All your institutions made more money. They got more donations. He still instituted Well, he didn't institute lockdowns, but lockdowns still happened. You guys got everything you
CNN
wanted.
will get money again.
Yeah,
You know,
everything will go your way either which way. Either you're gonna have Joe Biden in the White House or Donald Trump, and between you
I
and
don't know
me,
if Biden makes it.
I think he will. I think everyone's like, if Bill O'Reilly is saying that Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama are going to run, then it's going to be Joe Biden. I'm just saying. if Bill O'Reilly's saying it, it's bullshit by now.
Michelle,
So,
I mean, because I will say, like, Michelle Obama runs, she's gonna win. Like, she will.
Yeah.
Like, people love that woman.
Well, so one thing that I thought was interesting is actually Ron DeSantis smoked. And when I say smoked, I mean like he cooked Donald Trump. I think he had more than twice the amount of votes from Gen Z in the Iowa caucus or whatever. Like
Oh, yeah.
he cooked Trump in like the younger voters, which is really interesting. So I think we're gonna see for 2028, I think things are gonna look a lot different in a way that we're not quite ready to see, because like a lot of the boomers are going to be retiring, well, a lot more than we're going to be retiring, dead. It's going to be interesting to see how like these next couple of years play out, because not only with birth rates declining, there's so many different factors that are kind of like funneling all into the US, and I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I'm actually kind of excited for the future. And like, look, I'm still going to be doing this podcast. I'm probably still going to be fixing cars, regrettably. I'm still going to be lifting weights, and I'm still going to be playing heavy metal.
Yeah, I realized a long time ago that the more I was obsessively following politics, the more depressed I was on a daily basis. And it's not because like, oh, shit's bad or anything like that. It was just because like the negativity of like fighting. It's just like I do enough of that in my work. Like I don't need to bring more like conflict into my life. And
Right.
that's why I'm like, whatever, dude. Libertarian, I'll do my shit for the Libertarian Party because I believe that's a good cause. But other than that, like, all I can do, I just laugh. Like,
Fuck me out.
it's funny.
Yeah. All right. We've been going for about 90 minutes. I thought it would go this way, and I'm very, very happy it did. This is a fantastic show. Meredith, your honor. Where can everybody find you?
That's my Twitter handle right there. I am the Region 4 representative for the Libertarian National Committee, and also in charge of coordinating volunteers for our national convention in DC. If you would like to volunteer, hit me up. You get to spend time with me. It should be all you need to do it. But yeah, I have to do that because my boyfriend is in charge of planning the convention, and I would be remiss if I did not make a plug for that.
No, well, maybe I'll have to maybe I'll be driving down to DC. That's in March, isn't it?
No, it's in May.
Oh, okay. Do you know what day exactly?
I think it's Memorial Day weekend. I want to say like 23rd to 25th, something around that.
Okay. All right. Glenn Lawrence is running for president of the Manosphere, which is a little bit of an inside baseball joke, but I endorse Glenn Lawrence for president of the Manosphere. All right, everybody. Meredith, if you don't have anything else, yes, we will close her out.
Bye.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much, and until next time. Oh, tomorrow, 7 p.m. with Liam Cosgrove. We'll be talking about foreign policy. Make sure you go check out A Common Crown Cry, and until next time, everybody, take care.
Bye.